they didn't go and flatten Kiev. They didn't just, carpet bomb the whole country. And again, I'm not saying that you can't disagree with it, but when we're talking about compassion, there's a clear difference, a very, very big difference. And it takes a lot of it takes a lot to admit that, because most people don't want to. They, like you said, they think, oh, it's propaganda. It's not. There is a difference.
There's a huge difference. And the Russians, the history of this war will be written someday, and some of it will be bad history, some of it will be good history. But I certainly hope in the West that we can. I hope that West Point can hire some academics who can see through the Russophobia that has gripped this nation, and actually do a real takedown of this operation to understand. For instance, we should write a manual on Russian targeting. I know in the West, they're all, the Russians are killing innocent civilians, are bombing this. Oh, no, guys. I'm a targeteer. Okay. I've done it in war. I know how to target places. And I know what went into our thinking. And believe me, during Desert Storm, even though people can say it was brutal, yeah, war is brutal. But we applied the law of war. We made mistakes. Sometimes things happen that you don't know about, but we applied the law of war, but we were brutal. The Russians aren't applying the law of war alone. Yes, but they're going the extra mile. You see, in the Marine Corps, if I have a building that's occupied by an enemy that's inflicting casualties on my Marines, and there are civilians in that building, but I'm taking meaningful casualties, I can drop that building, and I will drop that building. And it's just called collateral damage. But if you study the Battle of Mariupol and you see the stories of the Marines, the Russian Marines, sacrificing everything to get in there, fight their way to the building, to evacuate the civilians that are in the basement under fire, to bring them out, suffering casualties along the way, get them out, and then engage the enemy. They went the extra mile to preserve human life. And this deserves credit. And their whole targeting.
It does.
They could take out the Ukrainians very easily, but their whole targeting methodology is to reduce to the lowest extent possible the civilian damage. And when you look at it, I mean, some of the casualty figures that have come out about the Ukrainians now, the Mossad is 157,000, Stratfor is 305,000. It's a lot. If you study modern war, generally speaking, civilian to military casualty ratios are 1-to-1. Let me remind people, the liberation of Normandy, the Great Normandy liberation, we killed 60,000 French civilians. We killed 60,000, America. We killed 60,000 French civilians liberating Normandy. No one talks about that. No one talks about that. The total number of dead in Ukraine, civilian dead, is, 5, 6, 7,000 in a war that's cost their soldiers between 157 and 300,000. What does that tell you? When the casualties are that low, it tells you that the Russians are going out of their way not to kill civilians. And that means that is increasing the Russian casualties, because the Russians are taking human losses to save civilian lives. And they're not getting any credit for this whatsoever.